Okay.
Okay.
Now, Princey, that's it. Any interaction with Princey, please talk to her, and she will be covering the topics the best way that is required for this course. Okay, thank you. Thank you. Out to you, Princey.
Sir, can you give me screen sharing?
Yeah, I know. That's what. If you are a co-host, then you can do that now.
Sir, can my screen be seen?
Yeah, it says that Princey has started sharing the screen, but we can't see anything now. There's nothing has come so far.
Can it be seen, sir?
No. You have done 2 logins, Princey. Yeah, now it's okay. Now it's okay.
Okay. Right.
Good. Thank you very much. Right.
So good evening, everybody. As sir already introduced me, I just say that just say my name and I'll start. So I'm Princey, and I'm working as a lecturer now, and in for CBSE. And today we will be doing performance management. Okay, right. And this is I
There
think
seems to be some
Ma'am, your voice is breaking, madam.
Madam, there's some disturbance, Princey. Some sound is, yeah.
is it loud now?
No.
Some disturbance is not there.
Just a minute.
We can't hear you now. Are you on mute?
Oh, no, I'm not on mute, sir. Can you hear me?
But some disturbance is there. Okay. Okay, you proceed. Let's see.
Sir, am I audible?
Not clear, ma'am.
Okay, you start. Let's see.
Okay, am I audible now?
Yes, ma'am, audio must have some disturbance is there.
Just stop me if I'm not clear. So good evening, everybody. I hope all of you are doing fine. So today we will be dealing with Unit 24, that is performance management. Is it okay now? Sir?
There is some kind of, what do you call that? When you have some loose contact, there will be some kind of sound that's coming up, isn't it?
Okay.
Along with, that's what's happening.
1 minute, sir. Sir, am I clear now?
No, it's okay, ma'am.
Yeah, okay. Okay, so I have logged in from 2 accounts. I am using mobile for speaking and laptop for sharing. Is my screen visible?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay, right. So good evening once again. And so we'll be discussing performance management, right? There is a quote by Peter Drucker which says that whatever is measured improves. Can you tell me the meaning of that? Whatever is measured improves. Can anybody tell me the meaning of that?
Measured, improves.
What is measured improves. Right. So now, like for example, now most of you must be having kids, right? So
Earphone.
you send them to school.
Earphone எடுத்துக்கோங்க.
They do have tests once in a while, right? So after the test, you get the marks of the children, right? So what is happening there? Some measurement is happening and it is a measurement of performance, right? So that was a very, very simple example. Okay. Am I audible now? Because there is somebody who is unmuted. That is, can you please mute? Okay, right. So anything that is measured improves. So if you want to see results, okay, if you want something to really do well, you have to measure and find out how well it is doing, right? Does it happen in banks? Is your performance being monitored?
Yes, ma'am.
Yes, ma'am.
If it is being monitored, are there improvements suggested if there are any deviations in your performance?
Yes, of course.
Yeah, definitely. Your superior will call you and, explain why try to find out from you why you have underperformed, right? So that is exactly the meaning of this. What is measured improves. So any kind of measurement of performance also is for the purpose of improving the productivity and improving the personal performance of that particular person in his career. Okay. So anything which has a number or a criteria attached to it has more chances of improving, right? This is especially important for organizations and people. Now, if they say CAIIB, you have to get, let's say 50, I don't know what is the cutoff, let's say 52 marks in order to clear the paper. That means a number is attached to it. Why? So that you try and get at least that many marks in order to clear the paper. Or they say these many number of attempts. Yes, please. Yeah. For example, if they say these are the number of attempts for a particular exam, why do they attach the number to that attempts? So that, you do your best, you give your best as soon as possible and you're able to clear the exam. So anything that has a number or any criteria attached to it has more chances of improving. In a daily scenario itself, within our family, we keep telling the kids, like if you do this, if you score well, okay, if you study well, I will buy you a bicycle. Okay, so you are attaching a criteria to something. Okay, and if they get that something, you will give a reward for that. So that is actually the real life example of performance being managed in our daily situations. So as far as a organization is concerned, how much more important that would be? Because within a small unit like a family, if you are saying that performance is so important, within a big unit like an organization, how much more important it would be, performance management. Okay, so going to the term performance, what is performance? Can anybody tell me, give the answer please, what is performance? Performance is anything you do, right? Anything you do. And why performance management? Okay, why performance management? That is in order to manage your performance. That means if you are a good performer, okay, you are promoted to the next level. Or if you are a bad performer or you are an average performer, you may be referred for some training or development programs. Okay, that is what it means by performance management. Okay, and as an organization, they would be managing the performances of so many people. Okay, that is why they say there is a saying that goes like charity begins at home, right? Most of you must have heard it. So this can be applied to organization also. If every person in the organization is performing to the best of his ability, Okay, what will happen? The organization will become a very successful organization. Do you agree with me? If most of the employees are unhappy, okay, is it good for the bank or bad for the bank?
Bad for the bank.
Bad
Yeah,
for
it's
the
bad
bank.
for the bank. So that is why you need to measure performance. You need to understand if there are employees who are unhappy, employees who are happy. Okay, right. Find out the reason for their unhappiness. Find out the reason for their happiness. Okay, right. That way you can take corrective action also. Okay. So what is performance? Now a task is assigned to you. How it is done is performance. In simple words, okay, performance is anything that you do. It is a key to the success of the organization. Performance, good performances will develop the people in the organization. Okay, so when you perform well, okay, you grow, right? And when you perform, when they measure your performance, okay, the organization is understanding what you have contributed towards the growth of the organization. Are you an awesome employee? Are you a great employee, good employee, fair employee, or poor employee? Okay, so that is why they measure the job performances. Okay, it will help the company to find the effectiveness of hiring and placing people. Somebody has taken you for the job. Are you doing the job right? It is the duty of the company to find out if you are doing the job right. Okay, right? So the company also, the bank also has to find out if it has got the right kind of people in place to do its job. Okay, if it has not got the right kind of people in place, then those people must be trained, okay, or sent for some developmental activity. Okay, so can you tell me what could be the objectives of a performance management system? Can you tell me what are the objectives of performance management? Okay, I will tell. Performance management actually helps to improve individual performance, right? It also helps to improve organizational performance. Yes or no? Because when an individual improves, obviously the organization will also improve. Okay, right? Are you all with me, please?
Yes, madam. Yes, madam.
Okay,
Yes,
right.
ma'am.
Yeah.
Yes,
So
ma'am.
there are two terms here that we must be careful about. One is performance management, the other is performance appraisal. Can you tell me what is the difference between performance appraisal and performance management?
Appraisal contains different dimensions.
Okay, different dimensions, right? And what about management, performance management? Okay, I will tell.
Managing
Performance-
the HR person's duties to manage and improve the performance of the employees.
Excellent. Very good. Thank you, sir. So performance management includes performance appraisal. Okay, so performance appraisal is just one of the steps in performance management. Performance management begins with goal setting. What are the goals the organization wants to achieve? Okay, then it will distribute the jobs to different people, right? After that, people will do the job. After that, their performance is measured, right? Okay, after the performance is measured, the performance feedback is communicated to the people, right? After that, corrective action is taken. So performance appraisal is actually just one process in the performance management uh, process. Did you understand? Is it clear? In the
Yes, ma'am.
entire performance management, performance appraisal is just one of the steps. So performance management actually has a wider scope. Okay, let us look at some of these definitions. Performance appraisal is the process of evaluating the performance and qualification of employees in terms of requirements of job for which he is employed for the purposes of administration, including placement, selection for promotion, providing financial rewards and other actions which require differential treatment among the members of a group as distinguished from actions affecting all members equally. So this particular definition of performance appraisal basically says It is only evaluating the performance, finding out if the employee has been placed right. Okay. And if he is a good performer, what the organization can do for him, like give him a promotion, give him financial rewards, or if he is a bad performer, some differential treatment. Okay. Like a job rotation. Okay. Or sending him for some different programs, etc. Okay. Right. The second one, Monappa and Mirza. Systematic evaluation of personnel by supervisors or others familiar with their performance, because employers are interested in knowing about employee performance. Employees wish to know their performance in the organization. So it is not only the employer who wants to know how the employee is performing. Even you as an employee would want to know how you are performing, right? Okay, so that is the meaning of this definition. So these two definitions, please make sure that you go through it. Okay, right. Now, all said and done, can you tell me, what are the objectives of performance management system? I'm repeating the question which I asked. Now that we discussed the definition and we discussed what is performance management and performance appraisal separately, probably you must be able to tell by now what are the objectives of the performance management system.
To
I
improve
told
the
you all the steps. Yeah.
to improve the efficiency of the organization.
To improve the efficiency of the organization and the individual. Okay, right. What else?
It also helps to achieve the organizational goals in a right way.
Very good. Thank you, sir. So it helps identify the performance requirements of the employees and also thereby achieve the organizational goals. Then what is happening after performance appraisal? The manager is giving
Promoted.
feedback. Yeah. Okay. Right. The manager is giving feedback, right? So based on that feedback, he's trying to know from you, okay, if your performance is really bad, what are the reasons for it? Are you unhappy with something? So he's giving you feedback. Or if it is really good, he appreciates you and probably he gives you an increment or whatever it is. Okay. So after that also, to give some developmental programs, as I already said. Okay. So at the end of all this, it is performance management is helping organizations achieve better performance, continuous improvement. It is trying to identify high performing and low performing employees. Okay. It is helping the organization to set some standards. Okay. And it is helping the individual also to develop. And but when you have good employees, okay, definitely organizations will be able to survive any kind of competition, right? When you have really good employees. So appraisal systems are an organizational necessity. Okay. Now, appraisal system in certain organizations, they may have their own way of appraisal, or they may borrow the appraisal system of any other organization or company. Okay, most of the time appraisal systems could be very simple, like you have confidential reports or something like that, or appraisal system can be really very complex. We look into this when we come to types of appraisal system. Okay, an appraisal system in some organizations will be very confidential, all secret. Okay, in some organizations it's going to be really open. Okay, so there are three objectives here of the appraisal system. One is judgmental. What do you understand by judgmental? What do you understand by judgmental objective? The company, the organization is judging the employee on the basis of his job performance. Okay, right? The organization is judging you whether you're good or you're bad. Developmental. Can anybody tell me what is the developmental objective of appraisal? Yeah. They give you suggestions for
Upgrading the skills.
Pardon, sir?
Upgrading the skills.
Yes, sir. They give suggestions for improving the employee performance, like upgrading skills, or they suggest some interventions like training or take some additional certifications, etc. Third one is counseling. Counseling by superior. That is a feedback. Why is the counseling a necessity? Why is counseling a necessity in performance management? Right?
To get
Because if you have any
motivation.
Yes, sir. I didn't get you, sir.
Motivation, for motivation.
Yeah, for motivation, because your manager calls to talk to you. You get that feeling. Okay, it could be half yearly or yearly, but you definitely get that feeling that there is somebody who is ready to listen to you and help you with your work. So that is why it must be counseling by superior objective also. So these three objectives, please remember: judgmental, developmental, and counseling. Sir, somebody said something. Okay.
Identifying the positives and the negatives of the employees.
Yes, the counselor can help identify the positives and the negatives of the employee. Right. Yes. Okay. The objectives for the organization. What are the objectives of performance appraisal? Performance appraisal will help take an inventory of quality and skills. What do we understand by that point? Helps take inventory of quality and skills. It helps the organization to identify whether we have the right kind of people having the right kind of skills, because any organization would want to have quality employees, right? Okay, so it is helping the organization to find an estimate of whether they are having the right kind of people in the right place doing the right jobs, right? Second one is identify training needs. This point we have already discussed. That is for people falling short of performance and people who are ahead of performance. Definitely they have to undergo some training, some certifications. Okay. And the third one is maintain individual and group development aspirations. So, definitely every organization would have some kind of a plan for its employee. Okay. Right. You climb up that ladder when you're really doing well. So if there are some, bad performances, obviously it takes more time. You have to improve your performance, and only then, otherwise your growth slows down. Okay. So to maintain individual development as well as for group development, sometimes you work in teams, right? So for the group development as well as individual development, performance appraisal is very much required. Are these points clear, sir? Can I have a feedback, please? Are these points clear, please? Right. Now, coming to perform, now, can you tell me the differences between performance management and performance appraisal? Now that I have come till here, can you tell me the differences? Okay, I will tell you the differences.
Performance appraisal is just a process in performance management.
Yes. Performance management includes performance appraisal, feedback, goal setting, etc. Right? Okay. And performance appraisal may happen half yearly or annually, whereas performance management is continuously happening. Okay. The appraisal, please remember this. The appraisal is happening either half yearly or annually, whereas performance management is happening on a day-to-day basis. Okay. Right? Now, in performance appraisal, the focus is on performance, whereas in performance management, the focus is on performance, the focus is on behavior, the focus is on value system, the focus is on the objectives of the organization. Okay, it has a wider scope. Okay, right? Did you understand this? Sir, ma'am, did you get this? Am I clear till here?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay, right. I'm going to the next one, the process of performance management. Set performance standards. Okay, the first one, as I said, performance management begins even before performance appraisal. So the first thing is to set performance standards. When can you set performance standards? Suppose you are doing a business, okay, and you have some objectives for your business, and you have hired some employees, okay, you will communicate the objectives of the business to the employees, okay, so that they can perform accordingly. Did you get this? So the performance standards, what you want the employee to do and what are the organizational objectives must be set correctly by the organization. That is first. That is the first step. So they have to reflect on what is required of the employee to do their job well. What kind of behavior is expected of the employee? What kind of skills the employees must have? What are the expected results from the employee? Okay, and whatever goals they set, it must benefit both the organization and the individual. Is the point clear, please? Yeah. Okay, so I'm going to the second point. Communicate standards to the employee. Suppose I am the boss. Okay, I write down all my organizational objectives. I write down the objectives for A, B, C, and D. Okay, but if I keep it with me, that is no point. I have to communicate the standards. I have to tell my employees what I expect from them. Only then they will know. Okay, the third step, measure performance. Measure performance is where performance appraisal comes. Performance is measured through, data collection, observation, feedback, etc. Next one is compare with benchmark and discuss deviation. So you have already set a performance standard. Suppose 10 is the point you have set. Okay, where are they? 10 is the benchmark. Okay, 10 is the benchmark. Or let's say excellent is the benchmark. Okay, where is the employee? Is he on average? Is he very good? Or is he poor? If 10 is the benchmark, is he at 8? Is he at 5? Or is he at 2? Okay, you identify that. And if there is a huge deviation, to discuss with the employee what is the reason for the deviation. Okay, and then discuss the outcome with the employees. You have to communicate after having, feedback and discussions with the employees. Tell the employees, see, these are your strengths, these are your weaknesses. Okay, these are your weak areas. In order to overcome your weak areas, this is the plan I have for you. You attend these training programs, you undergo certifications, you undergo an on-the-job training. So you discuss the outcome with employees. And if you're not giving them an increment, tell it to the employee that, your increment percentage this year is going to be very low, or you will not get any increment, or whatever it is. The outcome has to be discussed with the employees. Okay. After that, initiate corrective action. After discussion, we initiate corrective action. So for a high performing employee, what would be the corrective action? Increment, promotion, training. Okay, right. For a low performing employee, probably no increments and some developmental or corrective programs, right? Is the process clear? Logically, very easy process. First, set your goals. Think of yourself as a boss. Okay, right? Set a goal. After that, communicate the goals to your employees. Then let them do the work and you measure their performance. After that, give them out of 10 where they stand, or out of excellent where they stand. Call them, discuss with them, find out why they have deviated. Okay, tell them what is the result of their performance. After that, take corrective action. Is the process clear, please? Sir, ma'am, somebody can respond.
Yes, ma'am.
Yes.
Okay, now we'll go to the methods of performance appraisal. The first one is free form essay method. So anybody has any idea what would this free form essay method be? Like from the name itself, you can get it. Free form essay method. Okay, here what is happening is the superior will create a written view of his subordinate's performance. Okay, it could be like an essay. Okay, these essays are meant to describe and reward the employee's strengths and weaknesses, identify his problem areas. Okay, so this is essay method, free form essay. See, suppose you are the superior and you are supposed to write a free form essay. Whatever you write is left to you. Okay, whatever you write is left to you. Whatever you observe, you can see, you can write. Okay, there is no restriction on you. That is free form essay method. Okay, so the problem with this method is, what could be the problem? The superior is writing whatever comes to his mind. What would be the problem? Sometimes there could be a case like the superior doesn't like you. Okay, for some personal reasons, but suppose the superior doesn't like you, or there was some incident where you were a little rude to the superior. I'm just giving an example. Okay, so in that case, you know, that thing, that particular incident may loom large on his mind, and he may, you know, bring that into the essay. Okay, so that is why this is not a very accepted method, free-form essay method. Okay, right. The next one is straight ranking method. In straight ranking method, like there are 5 employees, A, B, C, D, E. Sorry. Like for example here, yeah, B is the best, so you give him rank 1, then A, then B, then C, then E, then D. Okay, like this. So this is a simple ranking method. Can you just give me a minute, please? I'll just drink some water. I'm sorry, I have a bad throat. That is the reason. Yeah. So in this ranking method, what is happening is, if there is A, B, C, D, and E. Okay, who is the best? You give them rank 1. Who is the next best? You give rank 2, then 3, then 4, then 5, like that. That is a simple ranking method. Okay, let's go. That is the straight ranking method. We compare employees to each other, ranking them from the best to the worst. Okay, you're comparing and then giving the result. That is a straight ranking method. Next one is comparison method. Can one of you tell me what is the comparison method? Comparison method. Can one of you is on unmute? Can you please mute? Can anybody tell me what is the comparison method? For example, here in this particular picture, you can see we have A, B, C, and D, right? You are comparing A to B, A to C, A to D. You are comparing B to C and B to D. Okay, right? And you're comparing C to D. So you are comparing one employee against the other employee. So this is the paired comparison method. So each employee here is compared based on a set of factors. Okay, this is called as a paired comparison method. Is it clear till here, please? So 3 methods we saw. One is free form essay. Okay, the second one is straight ranking method, and the third one is paired comparison method. These 3 methods. Okay, now let us look at the 4th method, that is the grading method. In grading method, what is happening is, see, you're giving grades. Okay, like for example, if I take Ram, okay, I want different characteristics. Let's say, for example, Ram's efficiency. I will give him grades from very good, good, average, below average, poor. Okay, timeliness, how fast or he is with his job. I will give him very good, good, average, below average, poor. This is called as grading method. Is the method clear, please? Can I have
Yes.
some response? Yes, okay, right, ma'am. Thank you, ma'am. Next one is graphic rating or linear rating scale. Graphic rating or linear rating scale. Here, okay, the employee is rated against a list of behavior needed for effective employee performance and productivity. Now, for example, see here, attitude. Okay, if he has no interest in work, consistent complainer, we give him 0 points. If he is careless, we'll give him 5 points. Okay, if he is very enthusiastic, we'll give him 20 points. So why are we calling this graphic or linear? That means now base, we had one concept here, attitude. In that attitude, we found out 5 subheadings. And for each category of that attitude, we gave different points. That is why it's called as graphic or linear rating scale. See, here we are just giving very good, good, average, whatever it is. This is in grading method. But here, in graphic or linear rating scale, what is happening is, even for that 0, there is, you know, that 0 is there, but it is further explained. That 5 is further explained. That 10 is further explained. Everything is further explained. So it becomes much more clear to the manager. Here, in the grading method, what was the problem? Anybody can come and, you know, give you very good or whatever it is. This method, graphic or linear rating method, is helping you understand the different categories and the different points much better than giving very good, good, average, below average, poor like this. Is this particular method clear, please?
Yes,
Okay.
ma'am.
Okay, next one is forced choice method. In forced choice method, they will give you a criteria. Okay, and under that criteria, they will give you some sentences like this. And then you can, you will get something like tick, which of this is correct. So if you take regularity on the job, always regular, inform in advance for delay, never regular, remain absent, neither regular nor irregular. Sometimes what happens is there might be one or two instances where he must not have been really regular. Okay, where there have been many instances where he was regular. But sometimes if there is some, error or some, what do you say, misunderstanding between the superior and the employee, what happens is he might be forced to give never regular or informs in advance for delay any one point. Whereas he must have been always regular with just one or two instances of being irregular. Okay, so he is forced here to mark in one of the boxes. Okay, so it is very difficult. Even if you are given a form like this, it is very difficult to make a judgment. Okay, because one point given to you is most, the other point given to you is least. Look at this, they are not even giving you a choice to give an average rating. Okay, though you look at the points there, you can give an average rating, but still, when you look at this, you're forced to, make a choice here. That is why it's called as forced choice method. These are a group of ready-made statements from which you have to choose. The next one is force distribution method. This graphic rating scale or force distribution method, when it is plotted on a graph, okay, when it is plotted on a graph, becomes the force distribution method. Sorry, the force choice method, when plotted on a graph, becomes the force distribution method. Okay, now for example, if a manager gives you, you're the manager and you are supposed to rate your subordinates, okay, he will tell you, okay, come on, Lata, put 10% of the employees in poor category. Put 20% of the employees in below average category. Put 40% in average category. So you are like, you have 5 subordinates and you are like so confused, okay, to do what to do with them, whom to place where. Okay, so that is a very big confusion that would loom large on your mind. That is why here you are forced. That's why they use the word forced distribution method. Okay, if you are the manager, so you are the one appraising, you are forced to rate an employee on this scale. Okay, so then we have the critical incident method. See, your manager might be observing you regularly, right? So today you have made some error. Let's say, for example, it's a cashier. Okay, he has made some error. Okay, so he made some mistakes. Okay, so obviously the manager will immediately note that incident down. It's a critical incident. It's a very, very important incident. Or for example, there was a fire. Okay, how did the employee react? Did he take time to think and he sat there looking at the fire, or he immediately informed the concerned people and took action immediately? Okay, so that is a critical incident. This is also one of the traditional techniques of performance appraisal. The next one, this is not there in your textbook. These are actually extras. Okay, the next one is checklist method. Now, this is also a forced method only. Okay, they'll give you a checklist and ask you to tick if it is yes, yes, if it is no, no. Okay, is regular on the job? Yes. Or if it is not regular? No. So that way, yes or no, you have to keep ticking. So that is the checklist method. Now, these were all the traditional methods. Does anyone want me to repeat the traditional methods, please? Okay, so next we go to modern methods. Are you all with me? Hello?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. Okay. Next we go to the modern methods. So the first one is assessment center workshops. Okay. Management by objectives, human asset accounting method, behaviorally anchored rating scale, and 360-degree appraisal method. Assessment center workshops. You all must be knowing about assessment centers, okay, right? Wherein different groups of employees come together, okay? There are many number of assessors, that is the people who are going to evaluate your performance, okay? And there would be many number of people who are going to be assessed, and there would be different activities would be given for different kinds groups of people. So like for example, there would be group discussions, there would be some management games or business games, there would be some in-basket exercises, committee meetings, okay, or you might be asked to take some psychological tests, okay? So that is what happens in an assessment center workshops. Okay, so why do they have these assessment center workshops? This is in order to measure the interpersonal skills of employees. That is, if you are coming together with the other group of employees, okay, are you able to manage within the group? It also helps the people who are observing you to understand your leadership qualities, how well you're able to organize your activities, your planning abilities, how do you, tolerate stress, okay? What is your capacity? Are you fully self-motivated, or do you require a push from your team members to be doing things? How good are your communication skills? Like for example, if you have a group discussion, it is to find out how good your communication skills are. Okay, are you talking up? Are you knowledgeable? If they put you up in a group of people, are you able to present your point clearly? Okay, so this is an assessment center workshop. And it could also be a job simulation environment. Okay, it's a job simulation environment wherein you are not in the actual job, doing the actual job, but you're pretending to do the job. Okay, like for example, you're a bank manager, right? And somebody comes to you for a housing loan. I'm not very familiar with the banking system, but I can just give examples. For example, like somebody comes to you for the housing loan. Okay, so the assessor itself would come to you, and you will act like a manager, and the assessor itself will come to you and will try to talk to you and find out how you deal with that particular situation. So that way they are able to get try to understand whether you are informed, okay, whether you have the knowledge and capability to interact with your customers. Okay, so that is an actually job simulation environment. Actually, the term assessment center, the concept was first applied in the military situations in German army. Okay, please make a note of it. It was in the German army that this particular method was first used during the World War. And it was used to select men into the army. That is during the World War. Okay, so the most important feature of the assessment center was job simulation. Okay, so there are many evaluators who come together to judge the employee performance in various situations. Okay, an assessment center workshop is not only for entry level employees, it's also for middle level employees and also for the higher level employees. So it can be anything. It can be paper, pencil test. There could be interviews. There could be some kind of, games. It could be a role play. There could be GD, etc. Okay, so like this, the different skills of the employee itself is assessed. Okay, so what is the purpose of an assessment center workshop? Measures potential of candidate for higher managerial positions, assesses training and development needs, help to select the right candidates for the right job, and it also helps to identify the future potential leader. For example, if you are a person who is taking initiative to talk, or initiative, or you are getting you're taking the initiative to form teams and start developing enthusiastically, you are moving around and cooperating with the others, okay, then that means you are a future leader. Okay, so that is the idea that the management gets about you. Okay, so that was with assessment center workshop. The next one is MBO, or management by objectives. Okay, this particular method was given by the management guru, Peter Drucker. Okay, he is a marketing guru, he's a management guru. So this particular method was given by him. Management by objective is basically nothing but you are setting goals and targets for the organization. And when you are setting goals you are also including the participation of the employees in the goal setting process. That is management by objectives. So it was a method given by Peter Drucker. Okay, this particular method involves a participation of the different employees in the organization. So when you are allowed to participate in goal setting process, okay, what will happen to your motivation? Obviously, your motivation will increase. You feel important. You start feeling important. So when you start feeling important, when you think your voice is heard, obviously you want to do the job really well. Okay, right? So management by objective is basically nothing but the subordinate also actively participating in the decision making process. Okay, so that will encourage people to give their best. It's a joint goal setting process between the manager and the subordinates, because you have worked long under the manager. Okay, you know your manager knows what is best for that particular department. Okay, so you know what are the goals that you have to meet for that particular department, right? So things become much more easier when it is a management by objective process. Okay, so goal setting is a joint process. The manager and the subordinate together, they do it. Okay, and reviews of performance through one-to-one meeting. So there are one-to-one meeting, probably monthly or weekly or bi-monthly or whatever it is. Okay, whenever they want to decide. Okay, so they plan when to meet and when to discuss about performances. So see here, it is a continuous process. The performance management here is a continuous process, and immediate feedback is given. So giving immediate feedback is better than giving feedback at the end of the year. Okay, because if I'm doing something wrong, I keep doing it wrong and not given any feedback doesn't serve any purpose. So giving regular feedback serves the purpose, because it will keep me motivated. It will help me identify if I'm making any mistakes, and accordingly I can make improvements or changes in my performance. Okay, right? So it encourages all the key personnel in the organization to give their best. Here performance counts in this particular process. Okay, the performance of every employee counts. So the employee becomes more responsible and accountable because he was part of the goal setting process. So what are the advantages here? Okay, the advantages, it is participative approach. Okay, because the manager and the subordinates are coming together. It increases motivation. We already discussed this. Enhances performance. It's an objective appraisal method. That means everybody's idea is taken into consideration. If I am writing a confidential report, it is subjective, because I am taking only one man's understanding or one woman's understanding, that particular manager's understanding about the performance into consideration. But here in MBO, okay, because it's a joint goal setting process, everybody's understanding of the job is taken into consideration. Okay, helps identify training and developmental needs. Okay, right. The next one, disadvantages. It is result oriented. Okay, this could create unhealthy competition between employees. There could be conflict in goal setting. Of course, Rama may not like what Lata says. Okay, right? So that could be there. So there could be a conflict in the goal setting process. Okay, soft targets showing high performance achievement. Sometimes, some people, they might be really very capable and they are given small jobs. Whereas some people may not be very capable, but they are given really difficult jobs. So this can happen. So you should be very careful with all these things when it comes to the MBO. So that was with the MBO. So basically, MBO is a joint goal setting process. Okay. So you first set organizational goals, which has to be clearly and accurately expressed. And these goals have to be reviewed periodically from time to time. So whatever goals you're setting, it should be challenging. It should provide motivation to the employees. It should not be something which is out of reach. Okay, right? So it's a joint goal setting process. The manager and the subordinates sit together, right? And they discuss. The employee will tell his personal goals. The manager will tell about his goals of the manager for the employee. Okay, and they will discuss and they will arrive at a consensus. Okay, when they are of the same mind, they will start the goal setting. I mean, the goal, they'll put the goal setting process onto the paper, right? Okay, so there is performance review also, and after that, feedback is also given. Okay, the next one is human asset accounting method. Now, this method is an evolving method in India. Okay, this method is an evolving method in India. So, this is like attaching money value to human beings. So, if I have a very, very intelligent employee, or let's say a very, very capable employee, okay, somebody who knows, who knows, let's say if it's a, who knows how to do his job well, okay, obviously he is an asset to the organization. So if such a person leaves, it's a loss for the organization. Whereas, whereas if the employee is not a key performer and he leaves, maybe very little is lost for the was I not audible? Where was I?
You were.
You're some, I think by mistake, did I mute you?
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
Okay.
Okay, right. So here the employee is treated as a human capital, right? We all know what is capital and how important capital is for any organization, right? So here, human capital, that means money value is attached to the human beings of the organization. Okay, the human asset value will increase and decreases. So if a good employee leaves, the human asset value decreases. And if a good employee chooses to stay, the human asset value increases, right? So here, there are two variables. So money estimate is attached to the value of human assets, okay? So if well-able, well-trained people leave, the organization will suffer, okay? Right. So there are two things here which are assessed, okay? Two variables. One is key causal variable and intervening enterprise variables. Okay, so when you are evaluating the employee, okay, is he able to adjust with the management policies, strategies, and does he have all the required skills? What is causing him to stay? Key causal variables. What is causing the employee to stay? Okay, is it the management policies? Okay, is it the strategy? Is it the skill? Okay, what is causing the employee to stay? Okay, intervening enterprise variables. What is causing the employee to stay? What is causing him to leave? Sometimes his motivation level will be really low. Sometimes, his loyalty level comes down. Probably he could be unhappy with something. Or sometimes it could be just a matter of attitude. So you're trying to identify. Key causal means what is wrong with the management. Okay. What are the things he is unhappy with the management? Intervening is basically got to do with yourself. Okay, the things you think, the things you imagine about your job, the things you like, the things you do not like about your job. That is the intervening enterprise variables. So key causal variables are the management policies, strategies, etc. Whereas intervening variables, enterprise variables, has got more to do with you. Okay, that is your attitude or whatever it is. Okay, right. So, but there is one problem associated with the human asset employee accounting method. You never know how long an employee will stay with an organization. Because if you have physical assets, you can own. The land is yours, the building is yours, the machinery is yours, okay. But the people there, okay, they are not yours. So, if, so you cannot own people like you own physical assets, okay. And that is one of the drawbacks of the human asset accounting method. You can never say when people will leave. Okay. So in India, the tax laws don't attach any, capital value to human beings, so human capital. So that is why this particular method is not very popular in India. The next one is behaviorally anchored rating scales. Okay, right. Now, behaviorally anchored rating scale, what is happening is, you remember the critical incident technique. In the traditional method, we had discussed about the critical incident technique. Okay, so here, this critical incident, you are marking them on a scale. That is why it's called behaviorally anchored rating scale. Okay, critical incident. Please remember, illustration critical incidents are marked on a rating scale. Behavior anchors, that is how you behave in specific situations, is given on a rating scale. That is why it is called as behaviorally anchored rating scales. Okay, so behaviorally anchored rating scale is a combination of two methods. One is critical incident, the other is rating scales. So here, the thing is, what are the different steps here is, you will be observed in order to identify critical behaviors. The critical behaviors can be positive or it can be negative. Okay, so you collect critical incidents. Persons who have knowledge of the job to be appraised are asked to describe specific illustrations of effective performance. So you are called and you are asked to describe a job you have done perfectly or a job you have not done perfectly. And accordingly, on that basis, you are given a rating. Okay, so you are also participating in this particular process. Okay, most of the time in bars, please make a note of it. In, in bars, most of the time, the rating of behaviors is on a scale of 5 to 9. A 5 to 9 point scale is used to rate behavior. Okay, and whatever critical incidents happen in your job, it is compared to your the goals that have been set for you. Are you going according to the goals set for you by the organization and the ones you and your manager have set for yourself? Okay, all that is measured in the behaviorally anchored rating scales. So this will help to identify effective and non-effective job behaviors. Okay, and every job behavior is actually measured on a 5 to 9 rating scale. Okay, right? In this method also, feedback is given. Okay, and you are given your appraisal happens according to the different performances in different areas. Okay, right. The next one, see here, behaviorally anchored rating scale, the steps. Collect critical incidents. Okay, so for example, regarding you, okay, whatever is the critical incident, and how have you performed in those critical situation? Was your performance good? Was it fair? Was it excellent? Was it poor? Okay, and then they will reclassify the incident. Okay, they'll make it that this particular incident occurs. Okay, how the employee must behave, and they will give 5 to 9 reasons like how the employee must behave, and then they will check, did you behave like that? Okay, if you behave like that, you belong to which particular point. So they will give you some points based on that particular whatever they have decided. Okay, right. And see here, this is also one of the examples of behaviorally anchored rating scales. See, different behaviors are given. So you have a rating scale, as I said, it's 5 to 9. So here they have used 7-point scale. So 1 point they're giving for extremely poor and 7 points for extremely good behavior. Okay, so one critical incident is taken. Okay, different critical incidents are taken. And here, they are giving you points. Okay, so it is a combination of critical incidents as well as rating scale, right? Okay. The next one is 360-degree appraisal. What is a 360-degree appraisal? It's appraisal by everybody who knows you, right? It could be your direct reportees, okay? It could be your immediate colleagues. It could be your manager. It could be your customer, right? So the appraisal is given by anybody who is, dealing with you on a day-to-day basis, okay? So what are the pros and cons of 360-degree feedback? Provides feedback to employees from a variety of sources, develops and strengthens teamwork and accountability. Definitely, because uh, uh, you're getting the feedback of so many people who have come in touch with you. Reveal specific career development areas. Suppose a customer says that you're really good in dealing with the customers, probably that area could be the key focus. The next type, okay, the cons, the negatives, focuses on employee weaknesses and shortcomings instead of strengths. Suppose there's a customer who's really angry with you or who has behaved with you very badly, an irritated customer, okay, and he is asked to evaluate you on a very bad day, he might give you a poor score. So that is one thing with, 360-degree feedback. Provides feedback from inexperienced raters and groups, can game the process. So it is like, sometimes they may not, like, for example, if you are, going to a restaurant and then they ask you, how was the food? Because how was the food is a very difficult question to answer, because let's say you have had a biryani, okay? Different people might, for different people, different taste appeal, right? So some of you may give 5, some of you might have thought it is very spicy, so let me give 1. Some of you might say, I love spicy food, so I'll give 5. Okay, so different people will have different, ideas about you, right? So that is more like a game. Okay, so there is feedback from the inexperienced raters. Okay, or for example, an uneducated person comes and they just give a form. Okay, come on, rate this particular employee who is a customer. Okay, probably he will just put a tick mark and go. And maybe he would put a tick mark if he puts at poor or if he puts at good. Okay, he wouldn't be knowing it. So that is very, very important to know. Requires large degree of data collection and processing in some cases. That is, you have to collect reports from so many people. Okay, and just imagine, reading through these different reports and then coming up with your own interpretation. So this is a very, very, tedious work. Okay, so that is 360-degree appraisal system. So appraisal in service industry. First, it is self-appraisal by employee. After that, your manager, appraisal by reporting authority, that is your immediate manager. After that, your manager's manager, that is review by superior or reporting authority. Okay, the next one. So this is with performance appraisal. The next topic we move on to is potential appraisal. Can anybody tell me what is the difference between performance appraisal and potential appraisal? Can anybody tell me what is the difference between potential and performance appraisal? In performance appraisal, what was happening? We were measuring the performance after it happened. In potential appraisal, what are we doing?
Potential means what? The capacity to do.
Yes, what the employee is capable of doing. Thank you, sir. So in potential appraisal, you are identifying the hidden talents and the skills of a person. Sometimes the person itself might not be aware of that. Sometimes, when we are given work, we may say that, no, I will not take it up. Okay, right? So because we are scared, probably we haven't done the work before, but once we start doing it, we understand that we are capable of doing it. Okay, that is potential appraisal. Sometimes the people working with you might be able to understand what you are capable of more than what you know yourself. Okay, so that is potential appraisal. Potential appraisal refers to appraisal that is the identification of hidden talents and skills of a person. The person might or might not be aware of them. So there's an appraisal of hidden talents and skills. It's a future-oriented approach. Okay, performance appraisal is both past-oriented, present-oriented, and future-oriented. Okay, because you're taking decision for the future also, right? Whereas potential appraisal is more of a future-oriented approach. Okay, they're planning for the future. See, I see the capability of a leader in you. You are taking initiative most of the time. Okay, so I see a potential in you. I know that you might be good at so and so thing. So that is the reason I chose you to do that particular work. Okay, so here potential appraisal is very, very important. Okay, now confidential report. Now the superior is always important. Okay, but in a confidential report, there is no transparency. Okay, it's surrounded with a lot of mystery. Now, would you like, for example, we would also, like our performance appraisal process to be more what do you say, objective, okay, where we are also involved and the management communicates to us about many things. So in a confidential report, what is happening is, everything is confidential. There is a mystery. You don't know what your manager has written about you. He has not given you any feedback and there is no developmental consideration at all. Okay, so to avoid all those things, now we have this potential appraisal. Okay, right. Now coming to merits of potential appraisal, confidential report was a small topic in the textbook. Okay, right. Coming to the merits of the performance appraisal system. Okay, now can you tell me what are the merits of the performance appraisal system? Can you please tell me the merits of the very easy, right?
To
Performance
improve
appraisal
the
system.
improve
Yeah,
the
it improves performance.
performance and assess the deficiencies and to improve drawbacks of the employee and help to improve the skills and other things, etc.
Yes, sir. Thank you, sir. Okay, so it helps to take corrective action. Okay, so you also get feedback. You also get constructive feedback, not destructive feedback. Rather, you get constructive feedback so that you can improve. Yes, ma'am. Vaishnavi, ma'am. She says gives feedback. Yeah, improve performance. And then what else? Performance appraisal. After the performance appraisal, if you've got a promotion, what happens?
Performer will be cherished, non-performer will be perished, ma'am.
Okay, sir. Okay, sir. Performer will be cherished, non-performer will be perished. Okay, sir. Thank you for that. Okay, so like for example, if you're a very good performer and you have got a promotion, what would happen? It will obviously increase your motivation levels, right? Okay, right. So it increases motivation, performance appraisal. It increases motivation. You also start doing better within teams. Okay, and you're getting reward or recognition also for all the work that you're doing. You're getting some rewards. You're getting some recognition. You're getting some increments. Okay, so you're very happy. It actually increases job satisfaction. Okay, but most of the time, many employees would be definitely unhappy only with their performance appraisal. Okay, so the merits of performance appraisal system: concern for performance, openness and trust. Okay, see, the manager is discussing with the subordinate. Okay, so you're able to, open a channel, it opens a channel of communication between the manager and the subordinate. There's a more open channel of trust and communication between the manager and the subordinate. Okay, feedback is given, corrective action is taken, and it also increases motivation. Okay, right. Demerits of performance appraisal system. These demerits are all the errors in performance appraisal system. Okay, one is halo effect. Now, for example, here, halo effect, please pay attention to this. This is very, very important because it again comes in the case studies also. Okay, right. So demerits of performance appraisal system. First one.
Excuse me, Princey.
Yes, sir.
See, I'm just moving out. Can you close recording when you finish the session?
Yes, sir. Okay.
Or I'll come, or you can give me a call. I'll come by that time.
Okay, sir. Okay.
Okay. Was I disturbing you? Disturbing you without muting my microphone or something in between? No.
No, sir.
Okay, thank you. Right.
Okay. Right. Now let's look at this halo effect. Now here I have the picture of an angel. So what could be a halo effect? If you take pictures of gods or like goddesses or whatever it is, okay, you might be seeing a circle around your head. Okay, and that is the halo. Okay, in halo effect, what is actually happening? Your one good quality is being given so much of importance. For example, you have been able to get some 50 customers to the bank, and the bank has got a 50% increase in that particular branch's profits because of you. So you are a key performer. So even if you make any mistake, that particular incident is looming large in the mind of the manager. You got it? So in halo effect, what is happening is, okay, your evaluator or your manager will rate you on one positive quality, on the basis of one or two positive qualities that you have. So even if you make a mistake, you will still be the hero or the heroine. The next one is leniency error. There would be some managers who might be very empathetic and sympathetic to their employees. So those kind of people have, when they evaluate, you can see leniency errors. Leniency, when we were studying also, there are some teachers who are very lenient, whereas there are some people who are very strict. So the leniency people will give you 5 out of 5, even if sometimes the person might be, only an average employee. Okay, just they want to please or they don't want to go bad in the books of the employees, so they give the high rating. The next one is strictness error. Strictness error, they will not give you any, they will give you only average. Even if you're a high performing employee, they will still give you only average. That is strictness error. Central tendency. Central tendency means no matter how good you do, okay, all you will get only half. That is average. Okay, if it is a scale of 1 to 5, you will always be 3, 3, 3, 3, 3 everywhere. That is the error of central tendency. That means they don't want to put you at the extreme left, or they don't want to put you at the extreme right. Okay, they want to give you everything average. It's a very safe play when it's central tendency. Then the other one is similar error. What is a similar error? Suppose I have a subordinate and I feel that my subordinate is same like me. Okay, my subordinate's name is, let's say, Blessy. Okay, and I feel like whenever I look at Blessy, I am feeling like, okay, this Blessy is the same like how I used to be when I joined the bank. Same like that, same struggles, same problems, same thing. So she's same to me. So when she's very, very similar to me, I will obviously give her a very high rating. So that is similar error. Okay. Now, characteristics of a good appraisal system. As we said, a good appraisal system should be objective. It should take everybody's ideas into consideration. It should be transparent. Okay, everybody must know what is expected of them, and so that they can do the job accordingly. Timely feedback must be given. As I said, in performance management system, we are giving timely feedback, or periodic feedback. So when we are giving periodic feedback, it will help take corrective action. Opportunity for self-appraisal. So you should also be able to evaluate your performance, because then you will know. Sometimes when you go through these appraisal things, you might be knowing where you are lacking yourself. And if you're really, a very self-righteous person, then you will say to yourself that, there is no need for me to give such a high rating to myself. Okay. Okay, that is that opportunity for self-appraisal. Identify potential and needs of employees. Discriminate between high and low performers. A good appraisal system should be able to identify high performers and low performers. It should improve the employee's potential, and it should identify the impediments of low performers. That is what caused an employee to perform so badly during that particular year. It should be able to identify that. Okay, so common errors in performance appraisal. One is the halo effect, which I already discussed. That is the angel one. Then the horn effect. What is horn? Horn effect is your bad qualities show up. Your bad qualities, no matter what good you do, if you have done one bad, your appraiser or your manager will evaluate you on the basis of that one bad quality. Okay, central tendency. This we already discussed. Average ratings. Even if it is 1 to 5, all the time they keep giving 3, 3, 3, 3, 3 everywhere. Strict rating, lenient rating, already discussed. Status effect. Okay, now for example, in 360-degree appraisal, you should appraise your superior also. So when you have to appraise your superior, you are getting scared. What if I give sir a low rating? Or what if I write some complaints about him? Status effect. Okay, because he's in a high position, you will overrate him. And then you're asked to rate your subordinate, you will underrate him because he's in a lower position than you. That is a status effect. Next one is spillover effect. So spillover effect is a recent incident or a past incident coming to your mind. Suppose one of the employees, okay, one of your subordinates helped you when your car had a breakdown. Okay, so you are so happy that he helped you on a difficult day. So when the performance appraisal time comes, okay, all his goodness comes to your mind of that particular day. So that is a spillover effect. So because of that, you don't want to make him feel bad, so you give him a good rating. Spillover effect. Okay, The next one, initial impression. We always say, right, first impression is the basic best impression. So, where there would be some managers, the first thing they know about you is what they will choose to believe always. That is the initial impression error. Recency effect or latest impression. Recently, what they saw about you, based on that, when they rate you, that is called as recency effect. Next one is similarity, same as me. I already gave the example of Blessing. Different from me. Same again. Different from me means, coach is totally different from me. Let me give her little lesser rating because I like to see somebody who is like me. Okay. Performance factor order. Performance factor order means like, for example, there would be certain factors on which you would be rated. Okay. So, for example, let's say timeliness. Okay. Your different timeliness is one, errors is one. Okay. So different factors would be given. So probably, by the time you come to the last factor, you are already looking into so many things that, there is a slight confusion within yourself. That is a performance factor order error. Then the sympathy effect. That, for example, like you feel very sympathetic. Oh, she's a lady with two small children. Let me give her a high rating. She's struggling. Okay. That is sympathy effect. In addition to this, there is one sunflower effect also, which is a new error actually. In sunflower effect, when it's like a sunflower. Okay, so the employee looks really good to you, so you give a high rating to the employee. Okay, so these are the common errors in the appraisal process. Okay, 1 minute, please. We have a lot left actually. I will just finish with this performance review and feedback, and we will close for the day. Yeah, the last one is performance review and feedback. Okay, so in performance review and feedback, the entire process, the first one is preparation for review. So before doing any appraisal or before doing any performance management, you have to set goals, you have to prepare your documents and reports, and what you expect at the industry level, what you expect at the branch level, everything, all those goals must be put into place. After that, there is appraisal interview, that is meeting of appraiser and appraisee. Okay, most of the time in an appraisal interview, the appraisal interview is always conducted by a appraiser who is trained in that particular system. Okay, and the appraiser must be aware of the management information systems. That is, for the appraising a particular person also, you need a lot of data, right? Like when he joined the company, his static data, his dynamic data. Okay, what is the position that he's particularly holding in the company? What is his present salary, etc. Okay, so for the appraiser should have all these details about the employee. Then the appraiser must discuss the venue and the time of meeting the appraisee. And it should be at the time when the appraiser doesn't have any other meeting. So the appraiser should be a listener, encourager, and it should be non-judgmental. So you want your manager to listen to you without judging you, right? You want your manager to be listening to you without judging you. You should be a listener. He should encourage you and should not judge you. Appraisee must be receptive. It's not only the appraiser who has a role, but the person being appraised. Okay. If the person giving feedback says that these are the problems with your performance, you should be ready to take it. You should be receptive. Okay, you should be ready to take it. So the appraiser has to give timed feedback. Feedback timing is very important. As soon as the employee comes, you cannot give the feedback. You should first, make the employee or the appraisee feel comfortable, right? Once he is comfortable, you start talking about a lot of things. Say hi, hello, find out how he is doing, then discuss about his job. After that, find out from him what are the problems, and then give him the feedback at the right time. Coming to the feedback should be objective and suggestive. Okay, specifically, you must tell them that these are the things I have noted about you. Okay, and these are the suggestions I have for you in order to develop in your career. Okay, it must address the developmental needs of the employee. And it should be a problem solving approach. It should not be a fault finding approach. It's not like the appraiser says, okay, these are your problem areas. This, you are that. No, it is not like that. You're not going to find fault. Okay, you're going to try to understand the problem and you're going to try to solve the problem. And always remember that feedback, any kind of feedback, should be given for improving performance. Okay, any kind of feedback should be given for improving the performance. So in an appraisal interview, okay, all the documents must first be in place. After that, before the appraisal interview, okay, the venue, the timing, okay, the data about the employee must be collected, okay, and the appraiser must be a very good listener. Appraisee must be a very good receiver. Okay, and the feedback timing also is very, very important. So whatever feedback is given should be encouraging. It should not be a fault finding process, but it should be a performance improvement process. Okay, right. Now what we have left in this particular unit is counseling skills, and we have competencies also, motivation through counseling. Again, we have assessment centers. So a lot is left. So I will do that because this itself is too much of information. I will do that in the next session. Ajay, sir? Sir, are you there? Okay. So participants, anything that has not been clear to you? I'm sorry, I'm having a very bad throat. So that is one of the other reasons also. So we'll close for now. And the rest of the topics, as you can see, we have counseling, the counseling process, skills of the counselor, how to manage average performers, motivation through counseling, competency assessment, the different types of competencies, competency descriptions, and competency levels, competency mapping, methods of competency mapping, assessment centers. Okay, so there are, many more slides to be completed. And then we have some, case studies also to be done. So we will do all that in the next session. Is that okay? Sir, ma'am? Can we do it in the next session?
Yes, yes.
Because this itself okay, right, because this itself is too much of information. Please go through the same thing, and if there is anything, please get in touch.
Okay, ma'am.
Thank you, everybody. Thank you so much.
Okay, ma'am.
Thank you very much, ma'am.
Thank you, sir. Thank you, sir.
Peace, ma'am.
Thank you, ma'am.
Good night, ma'am.
Good night. Thank you, sir.
Right.